right. Everybody good?
Yes.
Feeling better already, ain't you?
Yes.
You know God's with him. Don't get splinters. That's the only way that could happen. For him not get splinters on that old wagon, and God be with him. Manure, yeah. All right. Is everybody good? Well, he sang that song, and I didn't tell him nothing, but I was thinking about Sunday over at Calvin, talked about Jesus said, remember Zeke, you asked that question a while back about you want to love him, you know, and you want to love him even more than you do. Wish you could be so in love with him that it just, you know, consume you and be plumb out of control about it, like you was just head over heels and goofy about it, you know. And so I found this story. It said that you guys all heard the story where this woman comes in. Jeff sang the song. She broke her perfume, wiped his feet with her hair and all this stuff, and then religious dudes kind of getting on Jesus saying, well, if he knew that what kind of woman this was, she's a sinner and all this, you know. And so Jesus said this statement, he who's forgiven much loves much. Right? He who's forgiven much loves much. And I over there I don't have to tell you guys all this, but making the gift bigger, you know. The more it's like we all have need of big forgiveness, right? I mean, you get religious, and if you think, well, so-and-so needs more of it than you do, then congratulations, you're now religious. We all need an immeasurable amount of grace and forgiveness than we could ever even imagine, more so than we can even comprehend. And if we go on and just make the gift big, go on and know that, you know, all my sins been forgiven. Not just that which I've somehow managed and gotten on the list and asked for forgiveness of and all this kind of nonsense we grew up believing, but every bit of it. I mean, when Jesus died on the cross, I wasn't born yet. It was going to be a while before I even showed up, and every bit of my failure was in the future. So either he forgives future sin, or I'm in trouble. And so I'm saved by grace. That means I'm not saved by my ability to ask for forgiveness of all my sins. Come on. I mean, it can't be both ways. I mean, am I saved by grace?
Yes.
Then I'm not saved because I've been a good sin manager and I've got them all covered.
That's right.
But we've believed that. And so we've gotten our forgiveness in small installments and increments, and we've wondered why we've not loved big, because we didn't really realize that we were forgiven big. And when we realize we're forgiven big, we love big. I think it's the answer to our question. We still, I know we all sing the songs, and we've been learning it for 10 years now to know that we really are forgiven. So much so that we've been given the gift of righteousness, and we can become so righteousness-minded that we're no longer even forgiveness-minded. I mean, think about it. We can become so consciousness of righteousness, that's kind of a mouthful, consciousness of righteousness that I'm no longer I'm not saying that I'm ungrateful. I'm not saying that I've completely forgotten where I came from. But I'm saying to be forgiveness-minded, I'm still somewhat sin-conscious. What if I could be so righteousness conscious that I'm moved on from even being forgiven, that I'm to this place now that I've been forgiven so big that now I'm in this love deal with God, and it's like, man, this is something else, right? So anyway, I said all this to say I was thinking about that Mary. That Mary is the same Mary. That's the Mary that is the sister to Lazarus, right? So Lazarus, so you guys know Lazarus. Lazarus was raised from the dead, right? And so Jesus came and raised Lazarus from the dead. He'd been in the grave for 4 days, right? And so there's this Mary, that's his sister. She's the one that was the sinner that wiped his feet with her hair and tears and all that stuff, right? So then, if we back up even further, this is what I want to read to you here. This is what I want to read to you, because I tell myself this even, and this is my heart, this is my hunger, this is where I want to be all the time, and we get so busy, we get doing so, I'm saying good stuff even, we just get busy, don't we, especially this time of the year. Miss Rachel, she's a school teacher, and I got 2 girls in school. There's some kind of banquet every night in the month of May. Some kind of something, you know, graduations and awards and honors and betas and athletics and all. I just show up at school every evening thinking, what we celebrating tonight, you know. So it's, you know, for long, and then you work for a living, and it's like, you know, then you rush and you blow in here on Thursday night, and you sit down here and your mind's going I'm not the only one, am I? No. All right, so I got to take myself to this right here, all right, because I saw something. I love how God teaches me stuff because He's so good and He's so wise. And I've learned that He'll use things that you do understand to teach you things that you don't understand. He's just good that way. So, you know, I'm a cowboy and I'm simple and I like simple things. And so I work with cows every day, and we got a bunch of cows, and we artificially breed cows, so it's like high percentages and all this stuff. Well, what happens is every once in a while you'll have a cow that'll have twins. And most of the time a cow would just usually have one calf. I mean, that's the way she's designed, to have one calf. But ever so often, I mean, we breed like 800 and some cows, so we'll have a few, less than a handful a year, a set of twins, you know, and so it's good because your profit just doubled, right? So, but also the trouble with that also is increased, and so here you find this cow. She all of a sudden wakes up one day, and now she's got twice as much drawing from her as she's designed to handle. There's twice as much. I mean, it happened like that. I mean, overnight. One day, there she is, big, blowed up, and pregnant, and the next day, here she is with twice as much drawing from her than what she's designed to handle, than what she's been accustomed to handle, to what she's handled before, and was no problem for her before. All of a sudden now, and so I'm watching these cows, I'm watching her, and so these 2 calves, there'll be twice as much milk that she's got to produce, right? So I'm thinking, you know, if she, and by no means am I relating to any of us as a cow, right? Especially you girls. No way am I making that kind of comparison. But if we were in that position, here's what we would be stressed. We would be worried about how are we going to do this. We'd be calling the neighbors, and we'd be looking up on the internet. Putting it on Facebook. What are we going to do, right? We're stressed out, and for long we're not getting enough to sustain us, and there's more coming out than that's going in, and next thing you know, we're weak, and then when we get weak, the devil can whack you with something, and all this stuff. I'm thinking, but you know what? That cow don't have none of it. She don't even put it on Facebook. She doesn't appear to be stressed to me at all. You know what she does? Keeps on eating. She just puts her head down and keeps on eating until she ain't hungry no more. Keeps on eating, keeps on eating, keeps on eating. And as long as she don't get stressed, and she keeps her head down and she keeps on eating and stays in that place, there'll be enough to sustain, even though there's twice as much demanding from her than what she's designed to handle. She'll go on and handle it as long as she doesn't get fretted and worried and think like we do and say, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? No. She just keeps eating. She just keeps eating. Got that new phone, don't know how to work it. You don't know how to turn it off. You already told me that, that's why I know that. So here's this story, right? Here's this story. It says, this is in Luke 10:38. Now as they were traveling along, he entered a village, and a woman named Martha welcomed him into her home. She had a sister called Mary. Now this is the Mary that he sang about. This is the Mary that sat at his feet and cried and wiped his hair with his feet. This is the same Mary. She had a sister called Mary who was seated at the Lord's feet. Here she is again, listening to His Word. Amplified says, somebody got Amplified? It says, listening to His teaching continually. Message Bible says, hanging on His every word. I like that. It says, but Martha was distracted with all her preparations, and she came up to Him and said, Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me to do all the serving alone? Tell her to help me. I'm going to read it. Wait, read it. You got to amplify. Put a punk on amplify there.
Alright, where did we start at?
Just start 38.
Okay. Alright, now while they were on their way, Jesus entered a village called Bethany. And a woman named Martha welcomed him to her home. She had a sister named Mary, who seated herself at the Lord's feet and was continually listening to His teaching.
Yeah.
But Martha was very busy and distracted with all of her serving responsibilities.
Oh, wait a minute, because that's just too familiar. What? Say that again.
But Martha was very busy and distracted with all.
Martha was very busy and distracted with all her. There you go. Air conditioner came on. Martha was. Start right there.
Martha was very busy and distracted with all of her serving responsibilities.
With all of her serving responsibilities.
And she approached him and said, Lord, is it of no concern to you that my sister has left me to do the serving alone? Tell her to help me and do her part.
Yeah.
But the Lord replied to her, Martha, Martha.
Martha, Martha. I like that part. Martha, Martha. Oh, you're so religious. Martha, Martha, you're getting on Mary because she ain't doing enough work. You're getting on Mary because she believes in this grace. You're getting on Mary because... Alright, go ahead.
You are worried and bothered and anxious about so many things.
Worried and bothered and anxious. Now here, I used to be religious, so I'm qualified to talk about this, right? When all your focus is serving and doing and keeping track of how much somebody else is doing or not doing. Sounds a little familiar, don't it? And when you're in that place and you're in that mindset, you're worried. What was the list? Worried, anxious, and...
Worried, bothered, and anxious.
Worried, bothered, and anxious. Gosh, if that's not the truth. Martha, Martha. Then it says, well, Mary has done the one thing. What's yours say?
Alright, so about bothered and anxious about so many things. But only one thing is necessary.
One thing is necessary.
For Mary has chosen the good part, that which is to her advantage, which will not be taken away from her.
Mary has chosen the good part and has taken advantage and will not be taken away from her. Man, I'm saying that's good stuff right there. Now that, you know what we believe right here. It's like, all you hear about is serving. You got to do, right? All that stuff. And then here comes Mary, and she's found out the one thing that's important is sitting at His feet and listening to His teaching and hanging on every word and continually listening to everything that He has to say, right? And Jesus goes on to say that's the one thing. That's the one thing that's necessary. Now, anytime, we all know this, anytime somebody comes into the revelation that that's the one thing, it says His teaching, not Moses's. Not the law. Not the old covenant. His teaching, the new covenant, what Jesus says. He who knew no sin became sin so that we who knew no righteousness might become righteous. This is what she's sitting there listening to his teaching, right? Every time that happens, here comes, because there'll be older sister, older brother come along and say, yeah, you can't just believe that grace stuff. Nah, you got to do something. You gotta. Right? And Jesus defends her and says, Mary has chosen the good part, the one thing that's necessary. Man, now I'm going to show you what that will produce, all right? I don't know why I'm telling you guys this, because this is like preaching to the choir, but I need it. If I need it, then you probably need it, all right? Maybe you got it all figured out, but I wake up somehow and I'm busy, and 4 days have went by and I don't like where to go. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, it's Thursday and they expect me to be all spiritual. Right? Turn over to John 10. Turn over to John 10 if you're reading this. No, 11, I'm sorry. John 11. This is where Lazarus gets raised from the dead, right? Lazarus has died. I'll paraphrase the story, not read the whole thing, but they sent word to Jesus and the boys, and they said, your friend Lazarus, the friend that you love, he's sick, and we need you to come and heal him, right? So Jesus doesn't get in too big a hurry. He's got a plan, and so they sent word again. Lazarus is dead, right? So now they're going. 4 days later, Jesus says, we're going to go see Lazarus now, and they're like, okay, all this conversation, and so here Jesus shows up in Bethany. This is the town where Lazarus and Mary and Martha, that's where they live, right? So Jesus shows up, and so when Jesus came, I'll just pick up there. It said 11:17 in John. All right. So when Jesus came, he found that he had already been in the tomb 4 days. Now Bethany was near Jerusalem, about 2 miles off, and many of the Jews had come to Martha and Mary to console them concerning their brother. Martha, therefore, when she heard that Jesus was coming, went to meet him, but Mary stayed at the house. Martha then said to Jesus, Lord, now catch this, pay attention. Martha said to Jesus, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. Right? Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. Even now I know that whatever you ask of God, God will give you. Jesus said to her, your brother will rise again. Martha said to him, I know that he will rise again in the resurrection on the last day. Jesus said to her, I am the resurrection and the life. He who believes in me will live, even if he dies. And everyone who lives and believes in me will never die. Do you believe that? She said to him, yes, Lord, I believe that you are the Christ, the Son of God, even he who comes into the world. When she had said this, now here we got to think about Martha's religious, right? Concentrated on serving, busybody, Martha, worried, anxious, and all this stuff, And so anytime Jesus shows up and pours this major revelation and truth out on her, right? And it just like go, you remember when you were religious and somebody, even the truth was, went right over her head. She didn't even catch it. She didn't even get it. It was just like, whoop, right over her, right? It's almost, for me, I'll say, I got very little revelation when I was religious minded. Right? Now one of the mothers, maybe the Amplified said, where it said Mary stayed at the house, to say she remained sitting at the house. Martha's running, having a religious conversation with Jesus and missing the whole point. And true revelation goes right over her head and doesn't get it at all. And Mary's sitting. She's in the posture of rest. Right? And so Martha said, okay, 28. And when he had said this, she went away and called Mary her sister, saying secretly, the teacher is here and is calling for you. And when she heard it, she got up quickly and was coming to him. Now Jesus had not yet come into the village, but was still in the place where Martha met him. And the Jews who were with her in the house and consoling her, when they saw that Mary got up quickly and went out, they followed her, supposing that she was going to the tomb to weep there. Therefore, when Mary came where Jesus was, she saw him and fell at his feet. She's got some kind of feet thing going, don't she? Lord, she fell at his feet, saying to him, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. What did Martha say? Lord, if you'd been here, my brother would not have died. What did Mary say? Lord, if you'd have been here, my brother would not have died. God's so smart. It's in here on purpose, right? Word for word, exactly the same statement. Word for word, exactly the same statement, right? And when Martha made the same statement, religious conversation over her head, nothing happened, Jesus wasn't moved, not zero, right? Mary says the one that had the one thing that was needful. Mary, the one thing that was necessary that would take advantage of her and benefit her, the one that poured her oil on his hair, on his feet, and wiped his feet with her hair and all that stuff, when she said the same exact thing, when Jesus therefore saw her weeping, and the Jews who came with her also weeping, he was deeply moved in spirit and was troubled. Wow. I mean, it must have not been the right phrase, right? Like we get religious and flaky and faithy and all this stuff and say, well, I just got to quote the right verse and all this stuff. It's not just that, apparently. Because nothing happened when Martha said the right thing. Right? When Mary said it, Jesus was deeply moved in the spirit and troubled and said, where have you laid him? They said to him, Lord, come and see. And Jesus wept. Shortest verse in the Bible for you scholars. Jesus wept. So the Jews were saying, see how he loved him. But some of them said, could not this man who opened the eyes of the blind have kept this man also from dying? So Jesus again, being deeply moved within, came to the tomb. Now it was a cave, and a stone was lying against it. And Jesus said, remove the stone. Martha, poor Martha. I hope she got it eventually, because we're kind of picking on her. Martha, the sister of the deceased, said to him, Lord, by this time there will be a stench, for he has been dead 4 days. Right? Martha, you just don't get it. Grace says go on and remove the stone. Religious mindset says, well, wait a minute, you can't just tell people. I mean, their life will go on stinking. They'll just go on sin all they want to and all this stuff we've heard, right? Jesus still saying, Martha, Martha. Martha, Martha. Jesus said to her, did I not say to you that if you believe, you will see the glory of God? And you know the story. Lazarus come forth, raised from the dead, right? Now, I just said all that just to say this. Our prayer, we've been talking about prayer. It's what our prayer can be, our time can be, sitting at His feet. Because we want to be Marys. We want to be the ones that have spent so much time at His feet regardless of how busy we are. We're not busy-minded. We're not religious-minded. We're not all scatterbrained and not getting any revelation and speaking and nothing happens. It's easy to get that way.